Good evening. What's up? What's up, everybody? This is your girl, Kaywanda Lamb, the winning single mom. How are we this fine Sunday evening? Well, it's 7 p.m. Central, and that means it's time for us to get together and connect and chat about all things single parenting, what's happening in the world, and for me to give you what I have learned over these 19 years, almost 20, of being a single mom and chasing my dreams and raising these babies, right? So if you've been following me for a while, or if you're new, welcome, welcome. Hey, 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 girl. Um, you'll find I'm zany, right? I love to laugh, I love to live, right? And sometimes I'm super serious, right? But I got a little personality. But you'll also notice that I love to talk about certain topics, and it's always about us thriving as single moms, right? I like to talk about my faith, right? Because I'm a Christian, love the Lord, and that also just kind of runs through everything, especially with my advice. Try to make sure the stuff I tell you to do, Jesus would approve. And I love talking about dating. I love talking about relationships. I love talking about us raising our babies well. I love talking about self-care, right? And in order to do all of those things, one thing is super important. And that thing that's super important is us getting organized. Like if we can't get ourselves organized, we're going to fail in all those areas. We're going to fail in the area of parenting, right? Because we're still trying to get ourselves together and hardly have time or make time. And that's what I'm going to talk about tonight. Like you actually have to be able to see time differently. You've got to be able to look at your 24 hours and say, man, dang, I do have time to get done what needs to be done. And so I have a system that I've used over the years because I used to fail at this as well, right? And then I have a system that I use, and I kind of try to do something every Sunday to remind you to look at your week ahead. So I like to break my life down. I like to look at what's kind of coming on the horizon. And then I like to look at things week by week. And so on Sunday nights, I always say, prepare to win, right? Look at the week ahead, see what's coming. Let's stop acting like life is just dragging us by our heels. And truthfully, sometimes it does. I've been there. It does. Sometimes it does. But a lot of times we just haven't done our part. We haven't looked ahead to see what's coming. And we haven't said, all right, I know I got this big meeting at work at 8 o'clock. I got to get the kids to school. Their school starts taking kids at this time. Traffic is crazy. I need to make sure that if I'm going to beat traffic, get them dropped off and not have any accidents, I've got to leave at this time, get them dropped off at this time. A lot of times we just don't do that. And I'm that girl that was like my life because I was doing too much. So, I usually use my life as, just an example because, hey, so many people have similar situations. So let's talk about when my boys were still, one was going to daycare and one was going to school. So I had to make two different drops, two different parts of town. And I lived in a city that wasn't even where I worked and where they had to be at school. And my behind was still trying to be my mama. So I love my mama. My mama didn't work. My mama was a house mom. She works now, but for all my life, she was a house mom. And so the house was always great. It was always clean. There was always good food. She cooked breakfast in the morning. When we came home in the evenings, there was food. We had these great dinners every day. Every day. So when I became a mom, I'm thinking I have to do the same thing. Well, guess what? It's just me. Growing up, there was my grandparents and my mom, right? And then I was the older, child. So I helped with all the other ones. There was a system. We all worked together. Well, in my household, when I became a mom, it was me and two babies. And it took a while for that to click that I couldn't do what my mom did because there was a system there working with people who all had jobs. And I was the only one doing all the jobs, okay? So are you the only one? Let me see. Can y'all see me? Are you the only one doing all the jobs? More than likely you are, right? So you've got to say, I just can't be mama, right? And you got to pick. So we can meal prep on the weekends to make sure we have things in the morning. We can choose things that aren't grits and eggs and bacon to cook in the morning if it's time consuming. And we can figure out what are good, healthy meals that are still delicious, and we can grab those things and go. Or we can meal prep on the weekends and have those in little containers, wherever works for you. But in order to get to the part where you're actually able to parent well, and chase your dreams, sorry to tell you, sis, but you got to get organized. And so that was one of my struggles early on. So, like I said, I had to get one baby to this time, this part of town at this time, and then the other one dropped off over here, and I still needed to get to work on time. And I was failing at this. And luckily, I had an employer that was like, hey, I get it. You're a single mom, you got all this up against you. But when you get here, you might be 5 minutes late. You might be right on time. You might be, at the most, one time I was 15 minutes late. And this other lady made me feel the worst. And my boss, he was like, you know what? When you get here, like, you work all the way through. You work through your lunches. You help everybody. You accommodate people. You make sure people feel welcome. You are on your job. And if you don't have work, you're helping somebody else with theirs. You are constantly doing what we've hired you to do and then some. Meanwhile, these other people get here on time and they're gossiping. They're drinking coffee. They don't even start work until 30 minutes into the day. But when you get here, you're on it. So luckily I had somebody who recognized that, but we're not always that lucky. So we gotta do our part to get to where we're supposed to be, right? Because we're the ones that make the world go round. And so I tell this story so that you can see I had some things holding me back. I had some mindset issues. I was still trying to be perfect. So if that's you today, I want you to know it's okay. And you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to do everything in 24 hours because you can't do it all, right? But you have to sit down and say what's important. You have to sit down and look at the big picture, which is what I was alluding to earlier, to figure out how you're going to work single parenting for you and your kids. Does that make sense? Okay, so I just really want to give a few little tips tonight. The first thing is you got to get organized. Whatever that looks like for you, you got to get organized, right? Once you organize your space, once you organize your thoughts, because organization just isn't keeping our house together, right? It's looking at what's coming. It's looking at how our life is running. It's looking at what's working and what isn't, right? This is why I taught a class last year called Mama Money Mindset. And then I talked about the organized life, right? I teach these master classes, right? And turn them into courses because it's super important for you to be able to thrive as a single mom, to get on top of your life, right? So sometimes life happens to us. I get it. And sometimes we're happening to us. And so if you find that you're the one that's happening to yourself, the good news is you can do something about it. So you got to start saying, hey, what's not working? What am I doing? And how do I fix that, right? And so I made a few little notes because y'all know I love to have my little notebooks and my little journals and my little planners because those things help me run my life. And if you don't have those things, you need to invest in a journal, invest in a planner that fits your lifestyle. Look at them, look and see what's out there, right? I'm creating one. I got one coming, so get ready, right? Which is really devoted to our lifestyle, kind of what's going on with us. But until that happens, you got to make something work, right? So once you get organized, you're going to have to learn how to prioritize, okay? So I keep telling y'all this, and I want you to hear me. Everything cannot get done. Everything cannot get done. And you know what? Everything doesn't deserve to get done. You've got to be able to say what fits into your dream, your mission, your goals, your life design. And so it's hard, especially if you're a people pleaser, but you've got to be able to say no. All things aren't good things, right? So getting organized, prioritizing what's important, and then the next thing so that you can actually have room to chase your dreams, right? You've got to be able to say, I'm going to delay, right? You got to delay the gratification. So sometimes we want, what we want right now. I went looking at furniture yesterday. I didn't buy anything. I was like, I want it, but the price tag on here is not enough for me to buy it right now. You see what I'm saying? We've got to delay gratification. One day I'm going to upgrade this furniture, but yesterday wasn't the day. So I'm okay with delaying the gratification I'm going to have when I have my new furniture. Does that make sense? And so we want to become doctors, lawyers, teachers, whatever our little goal is, whatever your dream is. You want to be a big time A-list actor in Hollywood, whatever your thing is. You want to open up your own bakery, you want to start your own business, whatever those things are, we have to be able to plan those things out so that we can be successful with them. I'm like this, and for a while, it took me a while to say, okay, your ideas and your dreams and your goals are great, but Kaywanda, you cannot do them all at once. So I like to test things out. I like to try them out. But what I am realizing after 6 years of being in business, that's a good strategy, but it doesn't always work. The better thing for me to do is to do my research, right? Is to really look and see if the market needs that thing, right? And it's to really put together a plan. So what I'm saying to you tonight, whatever your dream is, I want you to get your life organized so that you can make room for that thing. And then I want you to start prioritizing it, right? That means that you're saying, hey, if you really want to open a bakery, you've got to put that on your list of things to do. It can't always be that mama can call you and you totally forget about what you're doing, which is going to help you get one step closer to opening that bakery. Is this making sense, right? So get organized, prioritize, delay the gratification, because all these little things are going to pop up, right? Oh, the Charlie Wilson concert or the Beyonce or the Jay-Z or the whatever it is that you're into, right? All these things, they're good things. All this stuff is going to pop up. Your friend's going to call you, oh my gosh, I found this great ticket to go to this and that. And you have to be able to say, am I going to delay the gratification of that thing until a better time because I'm prioritizing my dream. I'm prioritizing what I know I want. So let me give you another example. Y'all know I'm a teacher. And so I like to use examples, right? So another example from my life is when I wrote the first book. When I wrote the first book, friends would call. They'd be like, oh my gosh, we're going to brunch. We're doing this. Everybody's going to be here. You got to come. And I'm like, but I told y'all, like I have cut out a lot of going and doing, and I'm focusing on getting what's in me out onto paper because I was feeling so pressed. Like I knew every day I woke up in the morning, right, that I needed to write. And all these ideas were coming. And when I would lay down at night, I had all these ideas and what I wanted to put in this book because I knew it was going to change somebody's life. And so I had to learn how to say no. I had to get organized. I had to find the hours in my schedule so that I could work on writing this book. I had to prioritize it, right? So what I would do to prioritize it when I finally got serious is I would make sure my boys were good, get them home, get them fed, get them settled, and I would go to Starbucks. And I would say, I'm not leaving until I have 3,000 words written. And that's what I did. I made a goal. So I had 12 chapters in the book, and then there's a bonus 1 or 2 chapters at the end of the first book. And I said I wanted at least 3,000 words in each chapter. Okay, so when you do that probably comes out to about 6 pages, right? 6 pages typed, no spaces. And so what I'm saying to you is because I was hungry to get it done, because I'd finally seen how important it was for me, that I was willing to sacrifice. I was willing to say, hey, y'all, I can't come. I was willing to hurt some friends' feelings. I was willing to be okay with them being mad at me. I was even dating a guy at the time, and I was willing to be able to tell him, nah, because I already told you this is the weekend that I'm writing, right? I hung out with you during the week so that you will be good this weekend. And if you're not, I will see you when I finish writing. Does that make sense? And so I see a lot of us, we have dreams and goals and wishes and desires, but we're not moving on those things at all, like at all, right? I talk to women, like I'll coach women and have these conversations with women. And it's always, I'm trying, and it's always one day, and a year will pass, and 2 years will pass, right? Because I'm talking to women in my group, I'm talking to women just on social, and I'm watching these women, and I'm like, so when are you going to go after that thing that you say you want, right? And I can't pick on anybody because it took me years to get to moving, right? Sometimes it's just our process. We got to go through our process, right? But I'm saying to you, if you're finally fed up, because that's where you got to get, that is where you have to get. You have got to finally be fed up with not having the thing you know you're supposed to have, and with not being where you know you're supposed to be. And that is how you get to the point of where you're finally chasing your dreams, right? So tonight, my topic is all about how to juggle the dream, right, and motherhood. So once you finally have gotten yourself organized, you've learned to prioritize, you've, for a season said no to some things, you've delayed gratification. Now you've got to actually act. You've got to actually implement. You've got to actually do the thing. You've got to be moving towards that dream, right? So if you want, I have a cousin and she is an amazing singer. Excuse me, but I have watched her for, let's see, I'm 42. There's just water in here. Let's see, I'm 42. I have watched this young lady at least for more than 20 years. And she had a dream of being a singer. And she sung amazing gospel music, but she also likes R&B and all this other stuff. And, over the years, she's had some children. And she's just now, I'm like, so what's up with your dream of producing and creating music and all this stuff? And she's like, oh, my voice has changed with the last baby. And I'm like, but that's not how you make it. How you make it is you eat, sleep, and breathe your dream. If you want to be a singer, you don't let life tell you you can't do it. You don't let, oh, my voice has changed. You sing with that new voice, because guess what? We have people who come out and we're like, some of us are like, oh, I like this person. Their voice is different. And some are like, not for me. That's okay. Your job is to find the people who are for you. Does that make sense? And so she'll probably watch this. And yes, girl, I'm talking to you. Go after your dream. Go after it. Don't sit back and say, this was hard, I quit. This was hard, I quit. Recoup, breathe, step back, reassess, but go after it. If it's something you truly want, you have to go after it. So for those of you who are out here building the dream, you're out here chasing the dream and you're managing motherhood, the answer is the same. You've got to continue to come back to center. You've got to continue to look at your week and your month ahead, and you've got to be able to say, this is how I'm going to get it organized. This is how I'm going to enlist my tribe to help me. This is how I'm going to make sure that mom and dad that I'm co-parenting with, if you're lucky enough to have that, I don't have to have that. So some of you guys do enlist your help. Sometimes we also, because we're accustomed to being single parents, we go ahead and do everything by ourselves. When people are like, hey, I'll help you with that. Enlist your tribe, enlist your crew. And so I know I'm just a talking. If y'all have questions, pop them in down there. If not, I hope that this little message really blesses somebody. So tonight is the first day of the week. We're getting ready to head into the holidays. What if you actually sat down and said, I know what's coming for the next 3 weeks. I know that I typically get overwhelmed when it's time for the holidays. My family kind of gets on my nerves, right? If that's you, then what are you going to do differently this year about it? What are you going to say to make sure that people stay in their place and they stay in their lane and they know not to come for you at the holiday dinner? What are you going to do differently? Are you going to create your own memories at home with your babies? Are you going to start a new tradition? What are you going to do differently? Because so much is within our control. We just don't take control, right? So I actually used to be like the biggest pushover. I know that's kind of hard, right? Hard to imagine, but I used to be the most naive and the sweetest thing, because I thought that being a Christian meant that I needed to just take it, right? I just needed to let people do what they were going to do. And I just needed to find a polite way to say, I understand, right? You want to ask me to do 50 million things. I was just going to say yes to it, even if I didn't want to do it. And most of the time I did it. But somewhere along the way, I got more mature and I learned that, you know what, if it's not a priority, if it's not what I have deemed a priority, I'm going to learn how to tell people no, right? And that started with my family. My mama was like the queen of having me do stuff on my off days. And I was just like, so when am I going to get rest? Back then, we didn't know anything about self-care. We knew we needed it, but it wasn't a buzzword then, right? And so one day I just said, I am not going to keep letting these people know when I'm off. So I learned how to just keep that secret to myself. Now, that doesn't mean I didn't want to help my mom. That doesn't mean that I didn't still help her, that I didn't go do stuff, but it meant that I learned to prioritize me and my needs. Is that you today? Are you like still that person that's being superwoman, right? Taking care of your babies, doing everything, and you're worn out, but you have yet to say no? This week, I want you to learn how to tell people no. And you know what you're going to find? The world is not going to end and everybody's going to be okay. They're going to go ask somebody else. So tonight, and this is the end, I'm going to let you guys go. It's a little shorter mom chat tonight, but I want you to sit down and say, what's coming up? What's my work schedule looking like? What do I have to do with the kids? What are things that I'm committed to? Where are the places that they need to be, right? What's for dinner? What am I planning? What's in the fridge? How can I use what's there, right? Because we're always trying to save coins. We're trying to put those coins in other places where they can make us money. We're trying to make sure that we're, preparing for our future. We're trying to make sure our kids are good. Even for the holidays, start thinking ahead. What do you want to buy them for Christmas? What's that looking like? Okay. Is it something that you really need to do? Is it a want? Is it a need? Kind of start looking ahead, right? And when we look ahead, what that does is it releases some of that stress, right? When we're more prepared for our week, that stress level diminishes. This is why somebody told me, they said, oh my gosh, you seem to be the most unbothered. I was like, listen, I have learned to de-stress my life. Like, I don't have people calling me all day, wearing me out, worrying me. I have put time limits on things. I have, pretty much told all my folks, like, this is not the place you call when you want to gossip. Nobody calls me to gossip because I don't do it. I don't have time. I don't want to know, right? You call me for real things. Do not call me with garbage. Don't call me with mess. You have to put boundaries around your time and around your life. And this is how you're going to get to the dream, right? Whatever that is for you. And so I'm not going to tell you that it's easy to get to the level of what you want. I'm not going to say that, because it all takes hard work. But if you never prepare your life and set your life up to where you can actually get to it, you'll never get there. And so when I look at women and they're like, well, I'm still trying, or I want to do this. And I'm just like, but you got time. You have time. Now, what I do is unorthodox, and I do not suggest this to everybody. But when I was writing the first book, because I wrote the second book in a weekend, once you've done something, you kind of, figure out how to do it. Second book in a weekend, right? And it's amazing. It's really good stuff. I'm like, oh my God, I did a devotional in a weekend. Yes, right? And women just tell me how impactful it is and powerful, and I'm so glad. But I was able to do that because I had experienced those things, and my faith was, on 1,000, and God was just taking me through some seasons. So I had a lot of word and scripture I had already, been using for myself, and I knew it would really speak to those situations. And obviously I've lived a lot of years doing this thing. So I had already material for that book within me. And so I sat down and I thought about, what are those moments and situations that we collectively encounter, we seem to have in common as single moms. And I wrote about those things. I really felt led to design that devotional that way, right? So that you can open up a devotional that can speak to a season that you're going through in your life, and you can use God's word to get through it. And so, but anyway, with the first book, when I said I went to Starbucks and I would write 3,000 words a day, I would do that. But then sometimes I'd be at home and I want to work a little bit more. And so, Starbucks closes at a certain time. I would come home and again, make sure my kids are good. Sometimes I would take them with me, but they were bigger boys about this time and they were okay to be at home. They were teens, right? And so one of the things that I did one night, I remember I was up really late. I was still writing. I was formatting the book. I was, going through, we were in the editing phase, and I looked up and it was legit like 5 a.m. I said, okay, there's nothing for me to do but take a shower and get ready to go to work. Now, what I'm saying to you is I was desperately, in a season, I was in a season of where I wanted, that was my dream. My dream was to publish my first book, right? Because it was something I wanted. I was willing to delay gratification, my friends and hanging out and boyfriend and all that stuff. And I was even willing to lose some sleep. Okay. Some of us, we have to figure out how to go to bed and turn things off. And some of you have to figure out, like, this is enough rest, right? This is enough power. This is enough empire. This is enough beat. This is enough TV. Like, in these hours where we're consuming these things, we could be chasing our dreams. Does that make sense? And so those are good things. I watch TV as well. I record things and DVR stuff and go back and look at it later. So, but what I'm saying is, if you are 5 days a week, spending 3 hours in the evening watching television, let's do the math on that. That's 15 hours to build your dream. That's time to write a business plan. That's time to research locations for your bakery. That's time to look to see who's in the area that could work at your bakery. That's time to research funding. And this is after you have given your 100% in your day job. Does that make sense? Is this helping somebody? So whatever your dream is tonight, sit down and put it on paper. Sit down, and this is why vision boards are so important. Sit down and write it down. Write down, this is the end of a decade. We're in 2019, right? So in 2020, this time next year, where do you want to be? What do you want to have achieved, right? What's the next step on your journey that you want to be able to say, I was able to do that with kids. I was able to do that by myself. I was able to do that, and I'm helping so many people. What's that thing, right? So take your journal out tonight, get a sheet of paper, whatever you need to do, put it in your phone, type it up in a Google Doc, whatever. Write down what your dream is. And then take just a few moments to look at your week ahead. I always say, prepare to win. If we don't prepare to win, we're typically not going to win. I'm not saying we're going to fail, but it's not going to turn out the way we want because we haven't prepared for it. So when you know what your busy morning is like, but you know you have a break in the afternoon, maybe that's some of the time you pull for yourself and you say, this is where I'm going to work on my dream, right? You've got to get organized. You've got to prioritize. You've got to delay that gratification just a little bit, and you've got to do the work. Okay, so those are my steps for you tonight. So if you're juggling the dream and parenthood, kudos to you. Keep at it, girl. Bring in your tribe, get folks to help you. If you're saying, hey, I want to do this, but there is nobody there to help me, there's always somebody there to help you. People are in different seasons, and sometimes we're pushing out things and we're trying to get to a certain space, so we may not have the bandwidth. But just because you had that person in mind doesn't mean that God can't give you other people. So you start doing the work and ask him to bring you the people that will help you get it done. Does that make sense? Okay, so I'm Kaywanda Lamb, the winning single mom, AKA, right? And I named myself that based on a suggestion from a friend because we were like, okay, what do I was the single mom coach, and people seemed to not understand what that meant. I was like, I coach single moms, right? And so we were up one night, 2 a.m., it just hit him like that, shared that idea, and I was like, I love it because I only want to talk about us winning. I don't want to talk about us losing. I don't want to spend time on negativity. We all know what that is. I want you to get to your next level. When you get to your next level, your babies will get to their next level. That's what this is all for. We're here to improve our lives and the lives of our kids, period, right? And you can do it by yourself. You can do it as a single mom, right? So I love you guys tonight with the love of Jesus. I pray you have an amazing week. I pray I've said something that's blessed you. Do not forget to share this out. If you catch this on the replay, type replay. Let a girl know if this, gave you some encouragement, some empowerment tonight. And, if you actually go through this week and you look at the week ahead, I promise you that when surprises pop up, you'll be better able to handle them because you are now focused on what you're doing with your time. And you'll start seeing where you're wasting it and where you can pull that time and put it toward your dreams. Listen, I want to be further along in 2020, and I want the same for you. So have a great night and prepare to win. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye, y'all.